Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Just want to make sure that everybody is awake. There's plenty of coffee outside as well. Professor Dame Parveen Kumar, Dean of LKC Medicine, James Best, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, and it's good to see a number of students here. I have just two messages about this wonderful conference. First and foremost, before I make my 2 points, let me take this opportunity to express my profound gratitude to Professor Naomi Lobier and Professor Martin Lupton from Imperial College for co-chairing this conference series. This is the inaugural, as we just heard, of what would become a long series of very impactful conferences alternating between Singapore and London. I have just two brief messages. This conference is most appropriate to take place for its inaugural conversations right here in Singapore. And secondly, this is the appropriate time to have this conversation about transforming medical education. So let me elaborate on those 2 points. Why Singapore, why LKC Medicine, and why NTU at this point in time for the inaugural conference? Just in a short period of 53 years, Singapore has transformed itself from a relatively unknown, very tiny third world country to one of the most advanced, still tiny, but one of the most advanced nations in the world, which shows the power of human aspiration, hard work, determination, a long-term vision, stable, I want to emphasize stable, long-term perspective. And I've been very privileged to have had the opportunity to interact at various levels of Singapore government and society over the last 35 years. So it's really a privilege to be here leading NTU. Singapore is setting the pace in so many domains. Just 3 days ago, earlier this week, we had the New Economy Forum organized by Michael Bloomberg, and a number of global leaders were here in Singapore to look at not just what kind of an impact developed economies have had, but what the world is going to look like 10 years from now, 20 years from now. And this conversation was enormously insightful. NTU, in its current form, was founded only in 1991. And I had the opportunity to visit NTU in 1991, so I know exactly what it looked like and what it felt like at that time. Just fast forward 27 years, and it has emerged by many perspectives, many different perspectives, as one of the leading research universities in the world in a relatively short period of time. In academia in particular, but in any organization in general, age and youth have different advantages and disadvantages. In academia, the stature of an institution, its cumulative impact around the world through its faculty, students, and alumni, and its imprint on industry and society accumulate over a period of time. And institutions that have been around for centuries, and academic institutions have the propensity to survive centuries, unlike industry or government around the world, have had that impact. Along with that advantage comes the disadvantage of not being nimble, rigid systems that set in place that are difficult to change in any organization, but especially not at the individual faculty level, but collectively at the institutional level. The disadvantage of youth is, of course, all the advantages that established institutions have. But the advantage of youth is that you have the opportunity to be nimble and move quickly. And NTU has done exactly that. And let me just give you one data point, one set of data points that became available just early this week. If you look at a few areas that will shape the evolution of technology in the 21st century, four of those, there are many areas, four of the key areas are computer science, engineering, chemistry, and material science. And earlier this week, the US News and World Report placed NTU in the top 5 in all four of those areas. That's just one perspective. There are other examples one can give. At a time when the physical world, the digital world, and the biological world are integrating in unprecedented ways to shape what many people call the fourth industrial revolution, we have an opportunity at NTU through both academic work, through creation of new knowledge, as well as through its impact on industry and society, to set a pace that very few established institutions around the world have the opportunity to do. And also given the fact that we have a large campus, which itself can serve as a test bed to trial many of the cutting-edge technologies before they are ready to be adopted more broadly into society, we have an opportunity to develop policies, practices, ethical guidelines, etc., through academic work. So as Singapore aspires to emerge as one of the early smart nations, we announced our aspiration for NTU to emerge as a smart campus, not just with respect to adapting cutting-edge technology, many aspects of which are created on our campus by our faculty and students, but equally in determining how that technology interfaces with humanity and human behavior. There is no profession that's more closely connected to the interface between technology and humanity. Somebody has a technology. Now it's better. Being an engineer helps sometimes. I know how to switch on and off. That's about all I can do as a university president right now. So there is no other profession that's more closely tied to the interface of technology and humanity than the medical profession, both at the individual level as well as at the societal level. This is one of the reasons why we established earlier this year the NTU Institute of Science and Technology for Humanity. And in March of next year, there will be a number of global activities taking place at NTU, inviting thought leaders from around the world to have a conversation and to also release certain statements about the intersection of ethics and several aspects of technology. LKC Medicine is unique. It's a new institution that was created only 5 years ago. We just graduated our first cohort of 52 medical doctors who have finished nearly half of their first year work at the hospitals around Singapore. And one of the opportunities that our LKC Medical School had in partnership with Imperial College is to look at medical education and try to implement new forms of medical education using the latest in technology, whether it's 3D printing, whether it involves flipped classrooms, or includes augmented and virtual reality from anatomy to cardiology to many other fields. These are aspects of education that have been tried out over the last 5 years at LKC Medicine. And every indication so far is that the students trained in this new way are doing extremely well in their clinical practice around Singapore. We have 52 data points, and every day we get more and more data points on how well we do. And I want to congratulate my colleagues at LKC Medicine and our partners at Imperial for their vision in creating this new curriculum. So why Singapore? Why NTU? And why LKC Medicine for this conference? For all the reasons that I just mentioned, this is a good place to be. This is a good place to launch the inaugural conference in this series. Why now? I think we are at a point in time where the pace of change in society through technology has been unprecedented. That pace comes with many, many intended benefits, and perhaps even some unintended benefits. But it also comes with a challenge that gives us many unknown unknowns. For example, we know from the 3 industrial revolutions that have happened starting with the late 18th century, starting in Scotland with Watt's patent on steam engines. We know that for every intended benefit, there are unintended consequences. With the 4th industrial revolution, there are also many unintended consequences in addition to all the benefits that we foresee today. From helping the aging population, to assisting the disabled people, to transforming education, there are many potential benefits. And NTU is exceptionally well positioned to tap into that opportunity to use the 4th industrial revolution to impact society. There are also challenges, and I want to just pose a few questions for this conference. I'm sure they will come up in different forms, and none of this is new. So there is going to be significant disruption in opportunities for jobs. So how do we make sure that in the medical profession, I'm not just talking about medical doctors, I'm talking about the entire healthcare system, how do we make sure that the disruptions created by technology don't move too far ahead of the benefits that will follow the creation of new technologies? And I think it's important for all of us, especially medical educators, to pay attention to the time lag between the negative aspects of disruption to the positive aspect of disruption. As Rahm Emanuel, during the Obama administration, famously said, we should not let a crisis go to waste. And some people see the 4th industrial revolution as a crisis, and there are significant opportunities. The second issue related to the why now is that we have an opportunity to transform education, sometimes by choice, sometimes because we have no choice, because technology is changing so many things. So that poses an interesting question. What does it mean to be an educated person? What does it mean to be a well-qualified doctor when you have to continuously learn with rapidly accelerating technology, when you have to redefine yourself? For example, in a world where probabilistic outcomes are likely to be more than deterministic outcomes, are our medical doctors sufficiently trained in probability and statistics, in quantitative reasoning, when technology forces us and gives us the opportunity to be more and more quantitative? The third question, which is very critical for medical education, is what does it mean to be human? When machines will increasingly make more and more decisions, and machines will increasingly make more and more decisions that may not be reversible by humans in real time, or even with some reasonable time delay, do we run the risk of losing, at least for a short period of time, some typically human characteristics which are very critical to the medical profession? Empathy, sympathy, compassion, looking at an issue from the other person's perspective, etc. What are the dangers of technology? The fourth I already mentioned about unintended consequences. Will technology lead to a set of biases in medical practice that are not intended because of the way technology is employed? It also gives us opportunity. What will it mean for human behavior, human interactions 30 years from now, if machines can read much faster radiograms, would we reach a point where an experienced nurse who interfaces with the patient much more effectively than a brilliant radiologist, will she receive a higher compensation, a higher salary? We don't know. How will society change? The last but not least, machines force us to increasingly to behave in a certain way. When you receive an email, people expect you to respond soon. If you don't respond within a few hours, they assume automatically you're ignoring them. Precision medicine. GPS can precisely locate geographical locations around the world. We have atomic clocks that give time very, very precisely. In warfare, remotely, through autonomous drones, one can precisely target enemies. So all of this is pushing us to be perfect, to be precise. And humans are intrinsically imprecise and imperfect. So how does the medical profession train young people, deal with humans who are designed to be imprecise and imperfect at a time when technology is pushing us the other way? And what is the role of education in this regard? So these are just a few questions that come to mind. And last but not least, being at NTU, LKC Medicine has another advantage. You are located in an institution where the research and education in technology is ranked among the best in the world. How can we tap into that opportunity of interfacing medicine and technology in ways in which we may not have done, in ways in which others may not have had an opportunity to do so? So with those at least those two thoughts come to my mind as I look at this very exciting conference series. And I again want to thank Naomi and Martin for co-chairing this. I want to thank all the participants from 15 countries who have traveled here for taking the time and for your interest in coming here. And I look forward to learning more about the outcomes of this conference, not just this week, but in the future as well. Thank you very much.